Hi everybody, my name's Janine Tait and I am the founder of Bestow Beauty. So Bestow is a wellness-based brand. We believe in treating the skin from within with nutritionally rich formulations. So today, this webinar is on a subject that affects a lot of us, and that is foods and environments that trigger skin redness. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them through the chat and my team will be able to answer them straight away. Now, before we delve into this subject, I just want to determine what your skin sensitivity profile is. So there are 4 different profiles and you'll be one of them. Now, these are genetically determined, so you're born with them, and they're the way in which your skin chooses to communicate with you. So if there's any imbalances in your body or your skin is challenged in any way, it will often give you a visible sign, and this will be based on your skin sensitivity profile. So let's look at all of the 4 and see which one you are. The first one is heating skin. So this skin will choose to communicate with you by going red, and that can develop further into inflammation, rashes, irritation. A lot of skin disorders that are from heating skins would be things like rosacea, eczema, contact dermatitis, seborrheic dermatitis, perioral dermatitis. There's a lot of conditions that tend to occur when you have a heating skin. Now, I have personal experience with this skin type because not only have I worked a lot with clients with heating skins, but my own skin is a very strongly heating skin. So if ever anything's up with me, I'll develop little patches of eczema on my body, and on my face I develop perioral dermatitis, which usually starts as a little itchy rash around my nostrils, but it can occur anywhere from around the nostrils, down the laugh lines and on the chin. And even over the weekend I was repotting a whole lot of plants and washing my hands a lot. By Monday I'd started to get contact dermatitis on my hands, so they'd started becoming itchy and feeling a little hot. So straight away I knew that that was a sign for me, and I started looking after them, and today they're great again. So this is a heating skin, very red. It becomes very hot and irritated. The next profile is a congesting skin. So this skin, when it's distressed, will become blocked, and this leads to blackheads, bumpy skin and breakouts. The third profile is both heating and congesting. So this skin will both go red and become blocked. So inflamed acne is a great example of both a heating and congesting skin. The fourth profile, many would say, is the luckiest profile because it is neither heating nor congesting. So this skin will carry on looking great regardless of what's going on within, and or how challenged the skin may be. So it's what we say, not a very talkative skin. So do be aware that you're going to have to look to your body, listen to your body to know if things are not right. So you may know what your body's tells are. It could be your digestive system that plays up, or many people know that if they get sick, it goes to their lungs. Their sleep patterns can become disrupted, or maybe there's changes in their emotional state. But really important to listen to your body, because your skin's not going to tell you that all is not well. So you will be one of those 4 profiles, and it's usually pretty easy to figure out which one you are because it's based on problems you've had with your skin in the past or what you might be experiencing right now. Now, another thing to be aware of is that there can be different degrees of sensitivity. So I know for myself, very strongly heating, but I can be a tiny bit congesting too. So if I have a lot of congesting foods in my diet, or I expose myself to congesting environments, which for me would be going hiking all day and perspiring and leaving that on my skin. So the little salts in the perspiration, when the perspiration dries, can block the skin. And so it takes a lot for my skin to become congested, and it clears up very quickly, but I am mildly congesting. So as I say, different degrees of sensitivity to this. So how can you use this knowledge? Well, there's 2 main scenarios. The first thing is it's very handy to know what your triggers are. So what could upset and fuel your skin's problems. So for me, the word here is moderation. It doesn't mean that you have to eliminate all heating foods and environments out of your life. It just means be aware that these can be triggers for you. So for me, alcohol is a major heating food, unfortunately. So I know that I can only have a glass or maybe two of wine, and you can actually see it inflaming my skin. My cheeks will start going red and I will start flushing from my décolletage up onto my face. So again, moderation. When it comes to coffee, I have one coffee a day and it's a decaf. So just be aware that these are your potential triggers. The other way you can use your knowledge is if you're having problems right now. So if you're experiencing any of these issues with your skin, then my advice would be to cut out all heating or any trigger foods, any trigger environments, depending on what that might be for you. It could be heating or congesting, and just let the skin heal. And sometimes removing the irritants isn't enough if the skin condition has become very well established. You may need to look further into what nutritional deficiencies could be undermining your skin. You might need to look at the skincare products you're using. When you're having problems with your skin, you need to use very simple products like, say, the Grace's Soothing Serum and Soothing Oil. Very focused on just removing inflammation, rebalancing the skin, protecting and rebuilding the skin barrier function. So we don't want really complex skincare products when we're trying to heal the skin. So you just might need a more structured program when there's problems with the skin. So on that note, let's dive in and look at what the triggers are for heating skins. So as I've already alluded to, the very first one is alcohol. And alcohol is one of the most heating things you can do because it physically causes a dilation of the blood capillaries in the skin. And this brings more blood, of course, and that brings redness and heat to the skin. And as I said before, you can see that happening to a very fine, fair, sensitive skin. You can see the flush coming to their skin when they drink alcohol. As I say, doesn't mean you have to eliminate alcohol if you have heating skin, just in moderation, or you do need to cut it out if you actually are experiencing very inflamed skin right now. Coffee is another one. Unlike alcohol, it doesn't tend to cause redness when you drink it, even though I have met a few clients over the years who actually do go red when they drink coffee. But generally, it's just enough to just fuel that condition underneath, to stoke the fire. So just be aware of coffee. For me, as I say, I limit myself to one a day, and it is a decaf. Hot, spicy foods, so you can actually feel them physically heating the body when you eat them. You can feel hot, you can start perspiring. If you're eating a particularly hot curry, it can make it feel like your mouth is on fire. So it doesn't require a huge leap of imagination to realize that it's also heating the skin as well. Now, when I say hot, spicy foods, I don't mean those spices like coriander, cumin, cinnamon, all those really tasty spices. They are perfectly fine. It is the spices that actually cause the heat. So the chili, the wasabi, the paprika, those kind of things you have to be aware of. Oranges and orange juice. Now, we're not entirely sure why, and when I first heard this, I didn't entirely believe it. So it wasn't until I was working with a chap who had very inflamed seborrheic dermatitis, which is a very red, flaky condition that a lot of people experience. It occurs down the T-zone of the face most commonly, and he had a very established condition. It was very inflamed, and we put him on a full structured program. He was doing really well. Every time I saw him, the skin was improving, until one day he came in and it looked really red. It was like he'd taken 10 steps back. And at first I was a little bit shocked, but he said, it's okay, I know what it was. And he'd had 2 glasses of fresh orange juice the day before, and very quickly that inflamed his skin. So that was a great lesson for me, and I've never doubted it since, and I've seen it in my clients who have heated skin. many times since then. So just be aware of those. The last thing we want someone, say a teenager with inflamed acne, to be having is a glass of orange juice with their breakfast every morning. So yeah, very heating. And as I say, we don't know why, but it's interesting in Chinese medicine that they consider oranges to be a warming food that brings heat to the body. So strawberries are another one, unfortunately, because they're so delicious. But what I do notice is that in December, when they come into season and we're eating punnets of them, I see a lot of rashes coming into the clinics. Now, as I say, we don't know why, but for some people, it does cause a release of histamine, which is a chemical that your body produces that causes redness, inflammation, swelling, and itching. So potentially it is that, but hopefully we'll find out in the future why strawberries can be a problem for so many people. The last foods on the list are cashews and peanuts. So both of these nuts are very irritating to sensitive skins, and I see especially peanut butter being a problem. Many of the toddlers I've worked with in the past with eczema can get a flare up when they've eaten peanut butter. So just be aware of those too. So that's our list of heating culprits. As I say, moderation is the word there if you have a heating skin, but please cut them out if you are experiencing inflammation with your skin right now. Let's look at the environments that can cause problems. So, may seem pretty obvious, but very hot temperatures can increase the heat in the skin and worsen inflammation. So things like sitting close to the wood fire, even having a wood fire going all weekend, by the end of the weekend my skin feels quite dry and hot. Heat pumps, so be aware that you're not wanting to sit right in the direct flow of a heat pump. Saunas, very hot showers and baths, hot ovens. I can give you personal experience of this very recently because Holly and I have just finished putting together our new book on stabilizing blood sugar levels, and I was doing a lot of testing out the recipes at one point, and I can remember one weekend I was baking a lot, so a lot of non-spike cakes and biscuits and breads, and by the end of the weekend my skin actually felt burnt because I hadn't listened to my own advice, and I was very quickly opening the oven door and pulling out my cake rather than letting the heat escape. So just be aware of all of those kind of triggers that can really increase the heat in your skin. And of course, sun exposure is a big one. The sun will heat the skin and worsen inflammation. Intense exercise and perspiration left on the skin can cause problems. Now, I'm a big fan of exercise, and intense exercise is great for you, but if you're experiencing issues with your skin, be aware that it can fuel that, and you might just need to button back on the intensity of your exercise. So if you are going hard with your exercise, then you can see the redness in the skin, but another problem is that perspiration being left on the skin. Perspiration is alkaline, which is the exact opposite pH to what the skin wants to be at, and so it can drive problems by upsetting the skin microbiome. So the two combined can really cause problems with a heating skin. And the last one may surprise you. This is cold, dry conditions. So wintry morning walks, snow skiing, chafing wind. So what you find is when it gets really cold, so think of those cold winter frosty mornings, it causes a contraction of the blood capillaries. And this can cause an overreaction when you enter a warm room again, the skin will overdilate that capillary and the skin can go very red. The additional problem is that it's often not very humid at that time of year. All of the moisture in the air has condensed out in the form of dew or frost or snow or whatever it happens to be, but it's not in the air anymore. And our home environment's often quite dry with winter heating, so you get that dehydration. And when a skin is dehydrated, it's much more vulnerable to extremes of temperature. So just be very aware of those cold situations. A friend of mine experiences rosacea, and she's saying that we've had a cold turn and she's already starting to feel that her skin is feeling more inflamed with the cold. So I personally wear a little buff around my neck, and I can pull that up to under my eyes and just help mitigate that extreme temperature, the effect of that on my skin. So that covers all of the environments and all of the foods that aggravate heating skin. If you are interested in finding out more about this subject and you're a therapist working with skins, then I am having an in-person training where we'll look at this in more depth, and we'll look at the the foods and environments that will heal the skin. That's on the 14th of July from 9 to 4. If you're interested, please go to bestowbeauty.com. Under the training tab, you will find all the information. So I hope you found that helpful. Next webinar, we're going to be talking about foods and environments that congest the skin. So I'll see you there. Thank you.